Coach Maynard, if you could please just give us an opening statement about your season opener and how you feel like your guys progressed coming out of camp.
Well, I think guys progressed coming out of camp really well. We got a couple of nagging injuries, but nothing serious where people have to miss games. So gave the guys a couple of days off yesterday and today, and get ready to go tomorrow morning, get ready for Morehouse. In the Hall of Fame game up in Canton, Ohio, on Sunday to be on ESPN. NFL Network live at 3:30. So, Morehouse is a great competitor, and of course they're D2, but they're one of the better D2 programs. So we have to play well. We have to take care of Alabama A&M. If we do that, we should be able to come out victorious, but it will be a hard, fought, tough game, and if we're not ready to play, we could get upset.
Coach, just some of the things that have stood out from you that you learned about your team during camp in all three phases, offensive, defense, and special teams.
Well, we got some new parts there on defense, and they're coming together pretty well, but you never know until you play somebody else. We just been hitting one against ourselves all the time, and then the guys are ready to finally get to hit somebody else and play against somebody else and get some different looks offensively from another team. And the guys on defense are fired up, ready to go. And special teams, we got a new special teams coordinator because of, we lost our special teams coordinator from last year. So we're kind of still doing mostly the same stuff. But that's just effort and want to flying down there, hitting somebody and blocking somebody on the returns. So I think we'll be fine there. The guys giving a lot of effort. Offensively, we got a lot of guys returning. You got Quill Glass, our quarterback, and Brian Jenkins Jr. coming back, and Bentley coming back, and a lot of the offensive linemen. So those guys understand the system and what we're trying to do. So we would like to be able to put up some points, but you never know until you start playing.
Okay, with that, we will now open up questions for Coach Maynard from Alabama A&M.
Coach Maynard, Donald Ware with Fox to Row. How you doing?
Doing good. Doing good, Donald. How you doing?
Doing great. Can you speak to sort of the you're expecting from Quill Glass this year as he makes that next step after having a really good 2018?
Well, I expect him to have another season similar to the one he had last year, Donald. He's another year into the system, and we got a couple of receivers returning, and we got a couple of new receivers, so you got to make sure you get your timing down with those guys. But his knowledge and understanding of the game and what we're trying to do and getting us in and out of plays, he should be a little further down the road now. And, again, he's in his second year. And so we expect his numbers to go up all around the board and expect his interceptions to go down because of his knowledge of the game. So, if you got a quarterback, you got a chance, and we think we got a quarterback.
Is he comparable to one of your former guys at Winston, Cameron Smith, and if so, how?
Well, the thing about him and Cam that they have in common, they both had 3 years into the system, and they had kind of similar stats their first year, around the 20 touchdown mark and 8 or 9 interceptions. That's what Cam did his first year. Then Cam went to 33 touchdowns, and then he went to 43 touchdown passes. So we're hoping that Quill can make that same type jump and throw for 96 touchdowns in his 3-year career as Cam Smith did at Winston-Salem State. But Cam was more of a dual-threat guy. He'll really hurt you with his legs. Well, Quill, he can get you a first down, but he's not going to take anything to the house like Alcorn got.
Thank you, Coach. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Maynard, Trevor A. Jones. How you doing, Coach?
Doing good, Trev. How you doing, man?
I'm doing well, sir. Good to talk to you. Coach, you got the quarterback, you got the running back, you got the tight end. Talk about that offensive line, because they're going to need to protect the quarterback, number one, and open up some holes for the running back and give some time to get the pass off. Confident are you with the offensive line? Any surprises? Anything that stood out with you?
No, I'm pretty confident in the offensive line. We got 3 seniors on that offensive line, and Shania Reams, I think, was maybe second team all conference selection preseason, and We got Josh Wims and Tavares at the center. So we got those three in there, and then we're going to fill in the other two spots. We got a couple guys that we can rotate in and move around. And we feel pretty good about the offensive line. Of course, like you said, they got to open up some holes for Bentley, Quarles, and then they got to be able to protect for Quill. So we feel pretty good about the offensive line.
My last question, Coach. Talk about playing this game at the Hall of Fame. Brand new field, first game of the season. How excited are you? How's it going to feel in that atmosphere? What do you expect?
I'm very, very excited about the opportunity to play Morehouse in Canton, Ohio in the Hall of Fame game. We're really appreciative of the NFL Hall of Fame to invite us to play in this and give us this opportunity to showcase what we can do on national TV. And then for the guys, for the players, really, to get to go to the Hall of Fame and they get to go see all the Hall of Fame football players. A lot of these guys dreamed about and watched play as they was growing up and heard about, and some of them they hadn't seen play. Now they get to go actually to the Hall of Fame, where probably one of these days all these guys would love to be there, but first you got to get to the league. But it's just a great opportunity for these guys in our university to be able to take them and play in this game, and then playing against a traditional HBCU and Morehouse and Coach Freeman. He's going to his 13th season. He's done an excellent job there at Morehouse. These guys going to be ready. They're well coached. They're going to play hard. It's going to be a tough game. And they got Sims, their quarterback, and Dunn, the running back, or Player of the Year watch. Black College Hall of Fame Player of the Year watch. And defensively, they got a cornerback that runs 4.10. He's All-American. Number 19, the safety defensive end is 6'5", 220, had 4.5 sacks last year. Number 28, the safety led the team in losses and in sacks. And then they got a middle linebacker, number 44, who led the team in tackles. So they got a good team, man. They got some good players. They got a transfer, number 9 from Georgia Southern, also on defense. So they got some players over there. We already know they're well coached, so we got to be ready to play.
It's always, Coach, a pleasure, and good luck to you.
Okay, thank you, Trevor.
Currently taking questions from Alabama A&M head coach Maynor. And once again, if you do need to mute your lines, please hit 4* to mute and unmute your line. And please use that feature as opposed to any hold features. It might have some background noise that occur with the music, if there's any music being played. But once again, we're taking calls for Alabama A&M head coach Maynor. Just to kind of wrap things up here, I know we got another minute or so with our time slot with you on the call, but following Morehouse, next game, I know you don't look ahead. I know you look at, what's in front of you, but just talk a little bit about opening up, with some conference play that following week against Arkansas Pine Bluff at home.
Yeah, Arkansas coach is doing a great job. They had some couple young guys, the quarterback and receiver last year that kind of came onto the scene, and so I'm pretty sure they'll be looking to get those guys going against us early. The good thing that we got a game this week, and you make your biggest improvements from game 1 to game 2, so hopefully that'll help us and give us a little bit of advantage when they come in here in a couple of weeks.
Coach Maynor, Charles Bishop, Dr. Deals inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Santo Dunn, he's the preseason SIAC Offensive Player of the Year. Talk a little bit about his play for Morehouse.
Oh, man, he's dangerous. He's well-deserved of that Player of the Year. Preseason, he's explosive, he's fast. We got to get him before he gets started. We let him get to that second level of the defense, third level of the defense. It's going to be a long night, and he'll have a great game. So we got to get him before he gets started. We got to game tackle, and it got to be a team effort. It got to be a total team effort defensively. We got to stay conscious of him. But then you got to keep eye on that quarterback, too, because he's a Player of the Year watch also. So you got a 1-2 punch there with those two guys that's hard to stop. And what we got to do is we got to contain them. We can't. They good players. They great players. They're gonna get their yards. They're gonna make their plays. We can't let them have the big plays, and we got to contain them and don't let them have a big night.
Sure thing. Thank you, Coach.
Coach Maynard, we really appreciate your time, and we'll look forward to speaking to you again next week.
Sir, thank you.
Okay, so we will move down our roster here with our head coaches, and we will now go to Alabama State, where the Hornets will get set to open the season on Thursday, August 29th, when they take on UAB here in Birmingham. We will open things up with Coach Donald Hill-Ely. Coach, do we have Coach Ely on the line?
Yes, sir. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Coach. Thank you so much for joining us. Coach, if you could please preview your season opener against UAB, and if you also could just give us an overall interpretation of how you think things went for your team during training camp.
We're taking on Conference USA champions at their home place, which is, it's tough opening up against a bowl division team, but, again, it's a challenge that we welcome and we look forward to as we take the field against them Thursday night at 7 o'clock. In our camp, we implemented 3 new systems, have 3 new coordinators from offense, defense, special team. So the biggest thing was the learning curve for our young men, and I felt that they did a great job of responding to the challenge of learning the base and the foundation of what we want to look like as a team. And the last couple of weeks has been good. A couple of injuries here or there, but none that are season injuries, just the regular bruises and bumps that goes with this game of football.
And, Coach, just kind of analyzing what you saw a little bit more in detail offensively, defensively, and special teams, what were some of your takeaways from camp?
Offensively, you in any conference, if you're going to have to have a chance, you got to have some balance. And I think, our guys showed balance. Our quarterbacks threw the ball well through camp. Our running backs and offensive line has really done a good job of gelling with not just the run game, but protections. Defensively, we've been able to keep the ball in front of us and rally to it, so pursuits have been good, pressures great, and like the talent like special teams, our kicking game is strong with the returns of Hunter Hansen and Anthony Clavello, so we feel we have a strong kicking game and good pursuit teams to be able to defend the ball. So I just think collectively with all the new learning and everything that was going on, our guys have really responded, and we could see what the pluses are and what are some of the things we got to guard against as we go into this opener. Trevor, unfortunately, I couldn't really understand you, but I guess from what I picked up from the conversation, your phone was going in and out. A lot of the specials and things of that nature, you won't be able to see until you actually take the field. But, our biggest problem last year was finding ways to get the ball in the end zone offensively and pressure people defensively. It really doesn't show well when you're going against yourselves as scouts. But we'll be able to, get into this game going against UAB, and that battle test will give us an opportunity to really find what we do well in all phases and things that we need to improve on.
And my last question, Coach, going up against UAB, do you expect the speed of the game to change at all, or is it still too early in the season and you can actually, you guys will actually be at the same level of speed with this?
No, they have consistent units taking the field. Their coordinators remain the same. The head coaches, the continuity of what they're doing. Their players, a lot of the players that they have, even though they lost 33 starters players from last year, guys that played, they had just as many setting out, with that whole deal of redshirting and bringing back. So it may look as if they depleted, but they had 20-plus guys setting out waiting on this upcoming season that had already played 2 years prior. And those are some of the advantages that you get when you have programs to shut down and play club for a year, and guys come in and there's no satisfactory progress, any of that stuff entail until the following year. So you're able to get a lot of talent in, and if you're able to manage it once the progress comes back in place, you normally have about 2 good football teams sitting around campus.
Coach, always a pleasure speaking with you, and good luck to you this weekend. Do me a favor, tell Coach Flea I said hello, please.
No doubt about it.
Appreciate it.
All right.
Coach, just looking at your schedule, obviously you'll face a very tough non-conference opponent on the road to open the season. But when you go down and look at your schedule, you'll be at home for 4 games, 2 being conference games and 2 being non-conference. Just talk a little bit about the structure of that schedule and, being able to get you guys acclimated, with playing at home in front of your fans and with all the benefits that come with hosting home games.
Well, I mean, anytime you play home and you're able to build up momentum and continue to protect your tradition at home is good. Last year we started away from campus 7 straight weeks, and now this year we're back on campus 4 weeks, but then in the following week we're away from campus for 4. So eventually, once the schedule marries up where you're home and away, it will be great. But anytime you get a chance to be at home and have that 12th man, which is your crowd, and that night's sleep back on your campus, I think is always a plus.
Coach Ely Donaldware with Box to Row. How you doing?
Oh, good. What's going on, brother?
Not much. So can you kind of talk about how the buzz last year surrounding Titus Howard and then him ultimately being drafted has helped or continues to help with your recruiting?
Well, for one, personally, being here with Titus, to see him go through these halls and walls and take the resources we have here and gain the highest plateau of being drafted to the NFL is no doubt great for Alabama State, and the phone has rung off the hook for all those inspiring guys to be the next Titus. But more importantly, it's great for our HBCUs as we continue to compete and continue to fight to belong, that we're able to show those that are out recruiting and everywhere else that we can do the same thing with a totally different stage of resources, and that we can afford you those same opportunities that most thought could only be gained by going to predominantly white institutions.
Also, can you? I know he mentioned, I think you mentioned as well when you were assistant coach, in terms of his conversion. He came in as a quarterback, ultimately went on to be the offensive lineman he was. So what led you, how were you able to kind of spot the fact that he had that talent to be able to convert to the offensive line?
Everything that you do here as a coach is a projection. I mean, you look at a guy, and fortunate enough, the coaches before myself did a great job recruiting that we were able to make that change and move him from a tight end to a tackle. So that all goes off of, what coaches had done before. But, that's what we do as coaches. We assess the best position that we can put young men in, for one, to give our programs advantage, but secondly, them in the best position that they can get the most out of this game of football. And, and you look back at so many great coaches that have been at HBCUs, have taken Willie Lanier and put him at middle linebacker. He's a Hall of Famer. You take a Tank Younger and move him, a Buck Buchanan. We've been able, the same way that we have to utilize all resources in our institutions, we got to do the same thing on the playing field, because we don't get the best of the best all the time. So we have to look and make great assessments and move our players in positions that can not only help the team, but more importantly, put them in the best situation where they can pursue their dreams.
Sort of a twofold question. Do you feel like eventually you may have another or similar to Titus Howard, but I guess also sort of in the same vein, are there any other guys that you sort of move positions that will make your team better this upcoming year?
You'll see some guys. Right now we're about to play a game, and we've moved quite a few guys. So I don't want to give right now we need everything that we can as for UAB scouting report to remain in our tent. So you'll see some guys on the roster that has moved to different positions from last year and started at other positions, but we'll make them work a little bit for that.
I appreciate it.
No doubt about it.
Coach, we appreciate you taking some time with us. I look forward to speaking to you next week, and good luck against UAB.
Thanks a lot.
Okay, moving down, we will now speak with the head coach of the defending SWAC champion, Alcorn State Braves. Do we have Coach Fred McNair on the call?
Yes, sir, I'm here.
Good morning, Coach. If you could, please just start us out with a brief opening statement, just as far as previewing your opening opponent at Southern Miss.
Right now, I think we're very excited about getting in this year as far as camp-wise and the way things been progressing throughout the camp and up until school started last Monday. Look forward to hopefully a great season. No serious injuries, so excited about this season. Looking forward to a good game down in Hattiesburg on Saturday. Got a good football club down there. I think he's doing a good job at that program, and I think we just got to be ready to play as for what we do here at Alcorn. You know, we just got to play Alcorn brand of football and be mindful of staying free from penalties and some more crazy stuff. You know, just talking to the guys this morning about it, making sure they know that we just got to play almost a perfect game. You know, so from that standpoint. But overall, I'm excited about coming to this season what we have.
And, Coach, just a follow-up question to that. When you come back into a season, obviously when you can return big-time leaders on both sides of the ball, in Noah Johnson on offense, your quarterback, and Solomon Muhammad, preseason SWAC, offensive and defensive players of the year, respectively. What does that do for your team to be able to have guys like that that are at the forefront leading your program?
That's one thing we always talk about, leadership in this program. You know, somebody got to lead, you know, and the right kind of leader. You know, with those two guys, that's Solomon and Noah, you got great leadership there. You know, I think that what they're doing as far as talking with this team and making sure you guys hold themselves accountable, I think it really pays a lot of respect about to what those guys on this team, you know. So the biggest thing is Noah knows you want to be perfect every play. If he makes a mistake, you want to redo it. So that's all about leadership, you know, doing it right. Solomon, he's pretty much the same way. He got a good attitude. He's played fast. You know, he just got to slow himself down sometimes. But those guys, you know, just having those guys back this year, coming off of the championship season last year, means a lot to this program and what we're trying to do and what we're trying to take this program.
Coach, this is Jason Baker with Southern Miss and ESPN covering the game this Saturday. One of the questions I've got for you first is Michael Ajumobi came out on your depth chart as the starter at left tackle. He's the only non-returning starter on your offensive line. I noticed in some of my research he signed as a tight end and has now been converted over to offensive line. Could you talk a little bit about Ajumobi and maybe his progress to become that fifth starter on the offensive line to this point with the depth chart you've released?
Yeah, we're still swinging a few guys in and out, but I think he's one of the most standout guys coming up during camp. We're right fit for it. Some great things at that spot during camp. You know, got good feet. You know, he's kind of been out for a couple of years, you know, in and out with the bad hand, but coming off of it now, so I'm excited about him myself. I think that's his niche. That's something that he can do. To be very, very excited for him about it. I think he'll be a great addition to that offensive line for us coming up this year.
And another question for you. Can you talk about the progress Deshaun Waller made from being third on the depth chart to start the season last year to becoming just an absolute force within your offensive program, and then maybe where he left off a year ago in the Celebration Bowl and in the SWAC championship? What kind of camp has he had this year, and what kind of expectations do you have for Deshaun this year?
You know, I think all the guys know expectations very high around here at Alcorn. So Deshaun has been a very, very humble player. He's very intelligent football-wise, and he knows what he's doing. I mean, this kid is still for us to get this kid, really. We're excited about him this year as well as last year. You know, just coming in, being third on depth chart last year, we had no no idea of he was going to play, but when PJ went down, and we didn't miss a beat, man. I tell you, this kid came in ready to play. He's excited about being here, for one. And when you find those kind of kids that are excited about being in a place where they feel comfortable at, you're going to get the most out of them that they can give you. And he's been great. And just until now, last year, Celebration Bowl, the SWAC Championship, he's been phenomenal, man. And he's still learning, too. That's the thing about it. He's always willing to learn new things. Be good with him, man. I'm excited about him this year.
Hey, Coach, Marshan Kenny here. I'll be doing ESPN Plus color commentary with Jason Saturday. And congrats on the key to the city, Mount Olive, your hometown last year. I read that. Congratulations. It's a big deal. So if you don't mind talking about your relationship with Coach Hop, obviously a unique storyline going into this game, him spending 4 years at Alcorn, and you being one of his first hires there and you taking the reins and obviously running with it. If you don't mind divulging a little bit more on that relationship you two have.
The biggest deal, I think, he gave me an opportunity to come in and be a quarterback coach here in 2012. And, I think the relationship was okay. I mean, we coached football and we communicated well. So just the relationship that we had, I thought was great. Just being here as an assistant coach under him, I really respected him. The things that he did and everything. So, the relationship was great. Just some of the things that I'm doing now is just kind of different than what I did when he was here, So I'm just changing a few things, trying to remodel the situation. And I think that we're doing here now is great, fantastic now. So, but, overall, we have a great relationship with him.
Okay. And one more question for me real quick. Last year you opened up the season at Georgia Tech, this year at Southern Miss, next year at Auburn. These type of games, how do you think they set the foundation for the rest of your season, stepping up in class and going against some of these teams on the road?
Well, it's always good to feel, when you talk about mental toughness and being physically tough, all that, those games are good for you, but you're trying to limit some of the games that you want to schedule with those Power 5 teams such as Auburn, but it's kind of game that they can help and they can hurt you, So from that aspect, physically, the power that you take against those kind of schools that they really affect on the player's body. But just to kind of see where we at and kind of see what the mental toughness and the physical that we are, I think those games are good for us. But it can help you and it can hurt you. So time is good to help them and time is not.
Gotcha.
We have to play them, so we have to do that.
Coach Jason with ESPN again. Muhammad gets a lot of the notoriety, and rightfully so, but in my study as well, and looking at just your defense, Julian Hollis is another one. He was the SWAC championship defensive MVP last year. Can you speak to maybe the camp that he's had and maybe how important those two guys kind of feed off each other, and you kind of maybe describe maybe the differences between what kind of type of linebacker Solomon Muhammad is versus Breland Hollis?
Breland pretty much is the guy that's really the quarterback on the defense, But Solomon, he's most likely the fast guy. He won't do everything fast, but Breland, he kind of slows everything down for him a little bit. But they complement each other very well. Where Hollis is just really just feeling that Muhammad didn't want to think it too much, but both of them is great linebackers. I think Coach Tutler done an outstanding job with the both of them. Those two guys is going to be a big part of this defense. We got complement what we do up front. Just make tackles. Slow the game down for one. Those guys, they're going to complement each other very well.
Coach Marshan,
we are joined.
Coach Marshan Kenny with ESPN one more time, ESPN Plus. Obviously, Deshaun Waller, Noah Johnson, Solomon Muhammad are going to get a lot of publicity. Your best NFL prospect, it seems, is offensive tackle Kevin Hall. Can you talk a little bit about Kevin?
Yeah, actually, I recruited Kevin when I was here, during 2012. I was recruiting Kevin. He played a lot of defense, and he kind of switched most offense when he got here. I tell you what, he's a phenomenal athlete, man. And this guy runs just about as fast as some of our running backs. To be honest with you. I mean, good speed, good feet. Just converted from a defensive lineman to an offensive lineman. The way he played an offensive lineman speaks highly of what he can do with his athletics. So he's been a starter ever since his freshman year. So he's been playing well, and we expect him to play well this year. And we have an outstanding season this year. So big things, big expectations for him. So a lot for him to carry on his offensive line with him and the rest of the guys just coming back. So take a lot out of Kevin this year.
Thanks, Coach.
Coach McMahon, Trevor A. Jones. How you doing, Coach?
Trevor, how you, man?
I'm doing pretty well. Coach, in that same vein, can you talk about your offensive line? Because Noah's going to need protection. And I know that you said you had some returners coming back. How are you liking that offensive line that you have right now?
Well, I think during the course of camp, we've been doing some good things, and I think that I always tell them, the offensive line is almost like our swimmers. They got to be on the same page, and all that kind of stuff. So what they've been doing during the course of camp and up until now, they've been doing a phenomenal job. In practice, the tempo in practice has been very fast. So I think they've been doing a good job, and the defense give us in practice, we do a lot of good on good. Excited about what I see.
When he left.
And all that kind of stuff. So I'm excited about what we see offensive line-wise. Mustafa Abraham, coming back at the center. Harry Smith, the right guard, and left guard. We trying to bring Bubble back in. D'Antonio Brooks, get him back into the lineup this season. So we were missing last year in the piece of that offensive line, but we should be good up front. Got to keep these guys upright, keep them healthy.
Coach Marshawn Kenny again with ESPN Plus. I just love getting back to you and Coach Hop's ties with this game. A lot of storylines here. In the off season, you're camp director for a lot of camps. You do a lot of stuff in the state of Mississippi. But one in particular, or two in particular, working with Adelius Thomas, Brett Favre, former Southern Miss players. So your ties to Hattiesburg are pretty strong. Mind divulging a little bit more on those camps and working with AD and Brett Favre.
Well, you talking about two great individuals, man. Adelius Thomas, we worked his camp, I directed his camp, man, for a long time, man, and enjoyed working with him. And just like you said, the ties I have around in that area, the Pine Belt area, man, I think every high school coach in that area know me. I had some kind of dealing with them, whether it's recruiting, with their kids in the 7-on-7 camps, and with Brett Favre, and the people down that way, man. I'm pretty much known down in Hattiesburg. Brett Favre, I did his camp, the 7-on-7 camp, which was a phenomenal camp. Just working with the old guys down there and just having to be in the community in Hattiesburg and dealing with the people down there, dealing with a lot of business people, bankers and business people down that way. So I'm pretty much known in that area down there. So it's been great for me just to go up in that area, in that community, Hattiesburg. So do a lot of the shopping down there sometimes, and go down there and to Sam's, and my mom, she loved it down there in Sam's. So I'm in that area a lot. So Hattiesburg is a great city.
Absolutely, thanks. And going back to the football game last year, the Celebration Bowl, saw your post-game press conference, some of your players, that North Carolina A&T lost with that controversial 2-point conversion there in the fourth quarter. Has that put kind of a chip on your shoulder, your team's shoulder for this season, and to kind of use it as a springboard, bigger and better things?
Well, I tell the kids all the time. I tell them, it's not just that one play that cost us a game. It could have been a call that could have been made different. But you look at the things that we did in the course of the whole football game, just some of the things that we didn't do well. And we go back and look at that. Go reevaluate the film and see could we ran this better, see could we defend this better. Had a kickoff return on us. We've been having that same kickoff the whole game, and one guy just decided to sub himself out the game at that time, and he was our starting on our kickoff team, and took himself out, and that was the spot he's supposed to be in. So stuff like that, you go back and reevaluate the film and say, man, we could have did a whole lot better. Just that one play. But, a lot of times, you get those calls and play on, keep playing. We still have opportunities there. So, tip on the shoulder, you can say it, but kids know that they left a lot out there that we could have been done better as far as the way we played.
And one more question here, if I have a minute. Obviously, your family name is royalty in the state of Mississippi, McNair family name. Story I always like is you're actually the original McNair. So you wouldn't mind talking about your ties with being the original McNair and just a family name.
I go back a long time, man. Back in the early 80s and the late 80s, I was playing with, Torrance Small and David Tillman and those guys out just to practice one day, and they gave me that name. So kind of stuck with me, and it kind of was a good fit, a good rhythm to it. And that's what they called me the rest of the 2 years I played with them. And just tradition going on, just giving it up, and letting Steve carry that name, that legacy on, man. I think it was a great thing that came around and did an excellent job as well, man. And just that family name, man. And we all nice, and we love Alcorn State University. So Alcorn has did a lot for this family as well. Giving us opportunity to play and get another education as well. One of the things that we really stand out and hold our hats on. We love Alcorn, and Brother Tim played receiver here with Steve, and was a great receiver as well. So that tradition carries on, and now he's the head coach of Coach Springs now. He's still coaching football. So just carrying that legacy, man, that name, and making sure that the tradition holds up. I got a son here in Alcorn now.
Yeah.
We're just going to try to keep it going as much as we can, and we're Alcorn family, man. Great tradition for us.
It's a great answer. Thank you very much for sharing that, Coach.
McNair, we really appreciate your time, and we look forward to speaking to you again next week, and good luck opening your season.
All right, thanks a lot, sir.
Okay, we are now going to move over to the University of Arkansas Pine Bluff, where we will preview their season opening matchup at TCU. Do we have Coach Thomas on the line?
Yes, sir.
Coach Thomas, we appreciate your patience as our last call went a little bit over. But, Coach, if you could talk a little bit about your thoughts about your team coming out of training camp and then preview your season opener at TCU.
I think the main objective was accomplished, and that was coming out healthy. We banged it a lot early, and then, as the camp went on, we kind of took the brakes off a little bit just to make sure we could, get those guys up to the fight well rested. But I thought just coming out as far as the retention of having a lot of guys returning from a squad last year, we accomplished that. Our kids understood the concept. The second go-around as far as them being in the system and what's expected. So I thought they did a great job, grasping the concepts and just taking it to the next level as we continue to building blocks in this foundation of changing this culture. So I thought, camp went well. Kids really matured from a psychological and physical standpoint with the new strength coach. And I thought that we was hitting on, pretty good cylinders once we, as camp ended. I'm just going into, this week game. We got a big matchup, our hands full with a great program, and TCU, Garrett Patterson has done a great job establishing that program from close to 20 years, if not more. When you look at the consistency that program has had, being in the top 20, a lot of times, top 15. So our hands full, and our kids relish the challenge, and we're excited about it. I think our kids, need this type of game, not once a year, even more, because we're going to have some kids that get opportunity to play on Sunday. That's the game that scouts want to see, and it's also a litmus for us to be able to come out and see where we, where we stand before we get into conference play. So we're excited about going against one of the upper echelon programs in college football, and we'll be up for the challenge.
Coach, if you could just touch on some of the takeaways that you took from training camp in all three phases, offense, defensively, and special teams.
Offensively, when you got 9 or 10 starters returning on a bunch, it was probably top 3, top 4. So the offense, the bar is set pretty high. So, we wanted to, take them guys to level 500, 600 thinking. And I think Coach Gale did a great job of that, with those guys being able to call some of those things on their own because they've seen it a bunch. So I was very pleased, with the offensive, growth with those guys, especially with them having so many, returning and defensively. I thought we got a chance to just the implementation of who we are and who I am, and Coach Bradley, and Coach Quinn, and Coach Roberson, just building that foundation of what we wanted to see defensively, and now it's structured the way we, who we are internally. So I thought Jalen Stewart and those guys did a great job of understanding the why behind the schematics and what we've asked of them defensively, and then the kicking game. We just told those guys you don't have to be Jamie, just be yourself, and we'll take care of the rest of it. But Coach does a great job of with the kickers, and especially, and we're expecting great things out of those, all three of those phases. And we always tell them, hey, special people play special teams, and we expect that group to be special again for us this year.
Coach, you bring back Taylor Ford, one of the top backs in the country. What stood out about his season last year, and what are your expectations for 2019?
The kid rushed for over 1,000 yards and didn't play 3 games. Just the durability. We didn't have much on the edge. Just coming in, putting the pieces together. But he was the cornerstone of our program. And you're talking about having 1,000 yards with some of these great defensive minds in this conference, and he was able to eclipse that and not even play 3 games. And had a great off season, got bigger, stronger, faster, and we expect him to return that top form. He's a real humble kid, and he's one of the upper echelon backs in his league, and now there's a supporting cast around him. We still gonna have a lot of the system built around him, but now he don't have to have that pressure of 8-man, 7-man, 9-man boxes now because we got some guys on the perimeter that can win some fights. So expecting him to continue to do what he did last year for us and lead and be a dynamic weapon.
But you talked about Jamie and mentioned him earlier, and you've also got there's another Arkansas Pine Bluff former student athlete in Armstead with the New Orleans Saints. Touch on what that does for your program to have not only your student athletes that are there now, but also prospective student athletes that are looking at possibly joining your program. What type of boost does that give your program when you can, look those guys in the eye and say, hey, you can come to Arkansas Pine Bluff and you can play at the highest level possible?
It's kind of what Coach Ely hit on. It's just a sense of pride, and it's not the lack of resources per se when it comes to what you do with them. A lot of places may have bigger buildings and bigger weight rooms and things of that sort, but it's what you do, with those things. So you got opportunity here, to make it, and not just from a football standpoint, but from a transcript standpoint. Your degree, you don't have to take a back seat to anyone. I graduated from this great school, and 20 years later, I'm able to, be the head football coach, and that's some of the teaching that we tell these young brothers, and parents when they come, that you can make it in whatever endeavor in which you apply yourself to. And if you do that and you continue to work hard in whatever whatever field it is, whether football or whatever field it is, you'll be successful. So that's kind of our mantra, as we talk about developing the same characteristics from this great game of football and applying it to life.
Hey, Coach Eric Taylor, Arkansas Democrat Gazette, man. How you doing?
I'm blessed. How about yourself?
I'm going to make it, man. Going to make it. Last year, you guys suffered some injuries on offense, particularly at quarterback. Then you had Josh Aguilar, the receiver. You got those guys back this year. How big of an addition will they be? And including when Shannon went out as well, how big of an addition will they be, these guys, this year?
I mean, huge. You talk about, Shannon being a junior college All-American coming in, playing, right off, and Skylar coming in once he went down and kind of, learned on the job. And then you talk about, Josh, who was leading the nation in reception, going out in week 3. So now you get all those kids back along with Keyshawn Williams, who was an all-conference kid at running back before, the year before. And Harry Ballard, Missouri, big-time wide out on the edges with a whole offensive line back, and you sit there and say there's a lot A lot of people that played, DeJuan Miller, not only academic All-American, but athletic All-American on the perimeter. So there's some weapons out there, and there's some guys that can win some fights. So, we're excited about those guys having the opportunity not only to, be healthy, but stay healthy as, the season, go along. But, it just helps knowing that you got those guys out there who not only played a bunch, but played at a high level. So we're excited about Coach Gales and that offensive staff giving us a chance every Saturday moving the football and scoring a bunch of points.
Defensively, what are you looking for from your unit in 2019?
Just consistent, just run around and understand the why. We don't run a complex, defensive scheme, but you got to think. It forces you to think. We got some great offensive minds in this league, and you can't just look at certain pitches and take them as is. You got to really study. And Coach Quinn and Coach Bradley and Coach Rose did a great job this spring and even camp going against this offense. You talking about it's easy when you go against one of the better offenses in the league. Day in and day out at practice. So, we'll be light years ahead. We got some guys that really played a bunch, and Jalen Stewart gets a lot of credit, but we say it's Jay Stewart and the crew. But when you look at Xavier Mitchell, who started about 5 or 6 games, Jakar McKinney, who held it down up front, AC Gillum played a lot, Sean Steele and Paul Reeves, and those guys played a lot of football for us. So we're excited about the retention that those guys have and some of the playing experience, and now I get a chance to put my hands on it a little bit, and and get these kids to understand why we're doing it. So we'll be light years ahead and better than we were defensively, just with them understanding why we're doing certain things defensively.
Coach Trevor A. Jones, how you doing, Coach?
I'm blessed. How about yourself?
Yeah, I'm doing well. Thanks, Coach. Coach, I think this is your second year at the helm for the Lions, the Golden Lions. What's your system? How is your system fully implemented now? How have the players bought into your system? Do you still see room for growth? Can you talk about that a little bit, if you don't mind?
It'll always be growth. You look at, I always tell the kids all the time, you show me a perfect football game, then I can show you a red elephant. It's just going to always be growth, as long as you have an existence on this earth, there's always an opportunity to get better. But the schematic from a defensive standpoint is officially in. We jumped and threw a lot of things in the trash last year that, just didn't fit our kids' skill set, and we went back in the lab and, sat down with the coaches and said, what can we do to maximize our kids' skill set defensively, and that's what we did. We was able to get in and see the things that they could do and what they could do well. We just kind of did the implementation is that, and as far as the system and overall, now the culture is starting to be set. The foundation of the coaching staff and everybody's in the building from administration standpoint, the AD. So our name and our stamp is on it, and when you have 22 dismissals in a calendar year, says a lot as far as some kids just didn't want to buy in. And, now we got kids that's all in, and we got the chips pushed to the middle of the table. So now we ready to continue to build on this foundation as we go forward of like-minded thought process. And that's hard work and not cutting corners and being able to be in thought, and processing information. We want to think we know. It's a physical football game. We want to be methodical. We want to execute on a high level, but, we walk around the building and say 10-9, 10-9. We want to be in the box and not just fight.
All right, Coach, we appreciate your time this week with us on the call. We will look forward to speaking to you next week, and good luck.
I appreciate it, sir.
Now we will move to Grambling State, where the Grambling State Tigers, joining us will be head coach Broderick Fobbs. Do we have Coach Fobbs on the call?
Yes, good morning.
Morning, Coach. Coach, if you could, please give us your thoughts about your team coming out of training camp, and then also please preview your season opener at ULM.
Well, very, very pleased, with August camp. It's one of our better camps that we've had since we've been here. Very competitive, but then also, staying healthy has been, very important for us and for our program. In order to help us continue to get better and continue to grow, as a unit. So we're excited about, this contest this week, playing against University of Louisiana at Monroe. Very, very exceptional program with Coach Matt Viator and quarterback Caleb Evans, and really good players, that are, in year 3 of their transformation of becoming a better football team. So we're excited about it, just like everybody else, getting the opportunity to play against, a program that, has a little bit more than we have. There's hurdles to overcome, but just like anything else, we're looking forward to the competition.
And Coach, if you could just give us some of your takeaways from your team, just in all 3 phases, what you saw offensively, defensively, and on special teams.
Well, we've been very competitive in training camp. There are a lot of new faces, on both sides of the ball. But the good thing about it is, the speed is there, the effort is there, and the way that we've gone about dealing with the elements and the heat and things of that nature is something that has been very vital to our mental approach to the game. So just very, very pleased with that thus far.
Charbonnet Jones, how you doing, Coach?
How you doing, Coach? Well, not Coach.
I'm doing well.
All of us are Coach.
Coach, real quick, you said this has been one of the better camps that you're coming out of in a while since you've been there. What has particularly piqued your interest about the team this year? What type of development have you seen on both sides of the ball? And has anything surprised you about the Tigers?
Well, there's been a number of guys that have surprised us. We've been very, very pleased with some of the additions, that we've made to our program. But then also, the depth at certain positions has really, been something that we've been pleased with in certain spots. You never have as much depth as you want, but in certain spots we've been very, very pleased with some of the players that are fighting, to get on the field. So it makes us better. It also makes us more competitive and helps us, in our approach, to be a good football team.
And if I can, Coach, since it's the beginning of the year, take advantage of asking about particular players. Is there any particular players that you've seen a lot of growth or development from, or any freshmen coming in that you've seen develop quicker than you thought?
I don't like to name names early. I think, our focus is the entire team, and
I tried, Coach.
what we try to do, and that's just our focus is operating as one, and not necessarily trying to single any one person out, but really just trying to develop as a team and grow as a unit.
Bob, just looking at your schedule, obviously you open at ULM. Following week, you'll go not too far proximity from your campus and on Louisiana Tech. Not looking far ahead or trying to look past your first game, but if you could just talk a little bit about what that type of game does, playing an institution with such a close proximity, and what that does for your program.
Well, it's good for the city, and for the area. It keeps the financials in place here in this area. It benefits, this area. So that's a plus. In the next 3 weeks, 2 or so weeks, we will kind of remain in this area, this radius, and to that fact, it's a positive. But also, just the opportunity to play against, teams that are on a considered one level above you, is also important as well, because it kind of lets you know where you are, where you stand, because you never really know until you get those guys out there and get them under the lights and play a game.
Hey, Coach Fobbs, how you doing? It's Stephen Gaither, HBCU Game Day.
Hey, how you doing?
Good. A little bit back. College football 150 started this year, and Grambling's got lots of accolades. Obviously, the team this year, that none of that applies to them, but
The documentary came out a couple of days ago. Have they seen any of the footage, or you guys talk about it, or just what do they know about being as a part of the Grambling legacy? Obviously, you played as a part of it, but just seeing their school represented among all the FBS schools and things like that. Have you had any conversations with them about that, or they had any exposure to that?
I don't think it necessarily took that actual initiative video for us to, talk about that with our players. That's something that's a given that, in order to wear our uniform and our colors, you have to learn our history, and you have to know that history in order to be a part of it. And that's something that's been required since Coach Robinson has been here, and it hasn't changed, with myself. It's something that's important, in order to that uniform on. You have to know the history. You have to know where we've been. You have to know the everything, behind the name, the color scheme, and everything that is in place. So it's just part of our program. The video, does help, but it more enlightens everyone else that have not been a part of our program than those who have already been a part of it or are being a part of it now.
All right, Coach Fobbs, we really appreciate your time. We look forward to speaking to you again next week, and good luck. Now we will move to Jackson State, where the JSU Tigers will open up the season in Atlanta in the 2019 MEAC SWAC Challenge against Bethune-Cookman on September 1st. At this time, we will speak with head coach John Hendrick. Do we have Coach Hendrick on the line?
Yes, I am.
Coach, thank you so much for your patience as we're running a little bit behind on our calls, but we do appreciate your patience. Coach, if you could please give us an opening statement on your thoughts about your ball club coming out of training camp, and then if you could please preview your season opener against Bethune-Cookman.
Coming out of training camp, I think the main thing is that we're as healthy as we can be. You want to always come out. You want to play physical football and get your team prepared to play in games. So you have to do some physical things, but in spite of that, we've come out relatively healthy. I think we've made good progress in all three phases of our game, defensively, offensively, and in the kicking game. I think some of our young people have come in and really given us a bolster to add a little bit of depth. And some of the freshmen that we've signed and then some of the transfer guys who've come in have added to the depth of our program. And that's a good thing. Not that we have as much depth as we'd like to have, but we've become more competitive as a football team, more positions because of the additions. In terms of Bethune-Cookman, we're playing a really good team, a team from the MEAC, very fast team, very athletic football team, good speed on defense, really dynamic running back, dynamic kick returner. Got the quarterback back who was hurt earlier in the season last year. He's a really good runner, athletic guy. And then they have guys on defense that can fly around and fly to the ball and strike you. So it'll be a big challenge for us, and we're looking forward to the challenge.
Coach, if you could please just talk a little bit about what a type of game of this magnitude to start the season that's being broadcast on ESPN nationally, be one of a few games on TV on that day. Just touch on the exposure and the positive exposure that this does for your program.
The positive thing about it is in that time slot, we'll be the only game in town. And so hopefully viewers from all over the country will have an opportunity to tune in and watch us both play two good football teams playing against each other, playing a high-quality football game. Hopefully we'll get that kind of turnout on TV. It's good for us for recruiting because we are the only game in town. There'll be some young people who will tune in and watch, and we'll put on a good show for them.
Coach, just kind of looking down the schedule for you guys. Obviously, you open the season in Atlanta against Bethune-Cookman, but that very next week you'll travel and you'll play at South Alabama. Not looking too far ahead, but just talk a little bit about coming out of obviously a big game to open the season, and then jumping right up and playing up per se in competition at South Alabama that following week.
You know, anytime that you're playing a team that's a little slightly above you in terms of where they are positioning divisionally, you have a challenge on your hands. You know, after coming out playing a physical game against Bethune and then having to turn around and play a team that's a subdivision team is a big challenge for us. Hopefully we'll come out of Bethune pretty healthy and then have an opportunity to prepare for them and then go down to Mobile and play them in their place. I'm expecting it to be a really good atmosphere, and I'm expecting them to be a good football team also. So, as I said earlier, you know, every game that we play is a challenge for us, and we just need to be up to the challenge every time we line up.
Coach, following South Alabama, obviously Tennessee State is, from a showcasing and a recruiting standpoint, is, you know, one of the bigger games that's annually on your schedule every year. What is that type of game against Tennessee State? You know, talk a little bit about the exposure you get with that game annually and the exposure it gives your program.
Well, if you've ever been to the game, it's really a dynamic atmosphere with all the people who are there in the parking lot and all the people there in the stands. It's a rivalry game. It's a rivalry that we haven't fared well in over the past 6 or 7 years, and it's a big another challenge for us because we have to go and play a football team that has a little advantage over us over the past few years. So I think our kids will be excited to play that one. I don't think it'll be very much I have to do that week to get them up for that one. We'll go out and play, and we'll play well in it.
Coach Hendrick, we really appreciate you taking some time out your day with us, and good luck to open your season. We will now move to Mississippi Valley State, where they will open the season against Tennessee State on the road. We will now go to speak with head coach Vincent Dancy. Do we have Coach Dancy on the line?
Sure, I'm here.
Coach, thank you so much for taking some time to join us. If you could, please just give us a little preview of what you learned about your team coming out of training camp, and also please preview your season opener at Tennessee State.
I thought our guys responded well coming out of camp. Very excited about the guys that we brought in, the new guys, and also the freshmen that we brought in to help create enough depth around our team. But overall, just excited about the guys. They responded well to challenges and situations that we put them in throughout camp. Been a very, very, very competitive fall camp. So I'm just excited about these guys heading into the season and preview on TSU, a very, very solid football team, fast and physical football team, team out of the OVC conference. So, Coach Reed does a great job of getting those guys prepared going into his ninth season at TSU. So I know those guys will be ready.
Coach, coming out of training camp, just getting a little bit more in detail, what were some of your key takeaways that you got from your ball club in all three phases, offense, defense, and special teams?
Offensively, got 7 guys returning back on the offensive side of the ball. So with those guys, just being able to manage the game and, scoring points as you would like to do on a consistent basis, offensively, defensively. I thought those guys stood out throughout the course of the camp. A lot of our leaders are on that side of the ball, and just want those guys to be the leader of the team and limit the opposition in scoring points. Special teams, just want those guys to be consistent, throughout the course of a game and help us to establish good field position throughout the course.
Coming out of your game at Tennessee State, you'll go to Lamar, and then you'll be open for a week, and then Bethune-Cookman and Alcorn. So arguably, your first 4 games, highly competitive. You'll face a defending SWAC champ in Alcorn State. Lamar obviously has had some success here as of late. What do you think that can learn about your team playing those caliber of opponents right out the gate?
Not to look forward to the Lamars and Bethune and Alcorn, but I think coming out of this first game is going to give us a good challenge
and let us know, where we stand from a team standpoint. What we can do, what we need to adjust, what we need to change, and how we can move forward from that first game. So I think that first game is going to be a good challenge for us. So I think it would give us it would let us know, what we need to do. Not moving ahead into those games, but I think Tennessee State game would give us a good measure up of what we need to do and what we need to change as a team.
Coach, good morning to you. Ty Miller from the Power News Radio Network. How you doing?
Yes, sir. I'm doing good, and you?
Good, Coach. What is the biggest reason for optimism going into this season as you get set for your first game against Tennessee State? I really don't have any, man. I'm just excited to see our guys. We've been in camp 3 weeks. So been in camp 3 weeks with a fairly new group. Got a lot of guys that transferred in, a lot of young freshmen. So just very excited to see what can they do and, how can they help this team move forward throughout the course of the year. Coach, have the players bought into your system? I know you're going to see your second season, so have they bought into the way of Vincent Nancy doing the things he wants to do?
No doubt. I thought we kind of established that. I know that the record doesn't speak for it from last year, but I thought we kind of established, set the grounds last year, with being physical, man. We want to be physical. We want to be a physical team. We want to let people know that, when you play Mississippi Valley State, you're going to get our best for 4 straight quarters. So, that's all I want the guys to do is go out and play hard, play physical, and stay within themselves and stay within the scheme of the offense and defense and let the chips fall where they may.
And, Coach, of course, a lot of people haven't picked Valley to be in the race this year in terms of a major factor. Give me a reason as to why that is not going to be the case.
You say a lot of people hasn't picked us?
A lot of people don't expect you to.
Well, I think that's every year when it comes to Valley, but we're just gonna show people who we are. Like I said, I think the standard was kind of set last year. The wins doesn't speak for it, but we're just gonna show people who we are when we show up on Saturdays, and we're gonna play 60 minutes of football and give people our best shot week in and week out.
Thank you, Coach.
Appreciate it.
Coach, we really appreciate you taking some time to speak with us this week, and good luck in your season opener against Tennessee State. We'll now move to Prairie View A&M, where the Panthers will open the season at Texas Southern in the annual Labor Day Classic at BBVA Stadium. And now we will be joined by head coach Eric Dooley. Do we have Coach Dooley on the line?
Yes, I am.
Coach Dooley, thank you so much for taking some time to speak with us. If you could please give us an opening statement just as far as some of your thoughts coming out of training camp, and then please preview your season opener against rival Texas Southern.
Yes, thanks for having me. Coming out of camp, I thought going into it because of the summer, I thought we had an excellent summer, and that's tribute to my strength and conditioning coach, Coach Leonard. I thought he did a good job with those guys, taking care of those guys, making sure that the guys was doing the things that was needed. Going into camp, we had I would say a real successful camp. One with excited guys was flying around. We were moving fast, and then the biggest thing coming out of the camp, we left out healthy, and I know that's a lot of things that the coaches are saying, but I thought we was able to get out of camp, and it was very physical and very, very competitive. So I thought we did a good job with that. Those guys came out, they flew around, they competed with one another every day. It was extremely hot down here in this part of the Texas, but I thought we had an exciting camp and everything worked well for us. But moving forward, going into this week's game, we know it's going to be a huge game. Labor Day Classic is an in-state rival game, and not only that, it's a conference game. So we know we have our challenges set ahead for us. Coach McKinney came in, had a great recruiting class, so we know we have some challenges ahead of us, but we look forward to it.
But you just made an interesting point there about this being a conference game, and somewhat uncommon as far as the week one in the SWAC, being that it is a conference game, as the majority of the conference obviously is playing out of conference to open the year. What is the added value or pressure, if you want to call it that, if there is any, to, starting the season off right out the gate when you're trying to learn more about your ball club, but, starting the year off where you're playing not just a conference game, but playing, your rival?
Well, you have to, when you know that you're going to play your rival in a conference game, the first game of the year, I think it has to start in January. Mindset has to take place in January, and you have to go through your spring practice as well as your summer practices with your strength and conditioning coach, because of the mindset, you really have no room for error. I mean, right out of the gate, a conference game, and be very competitive.
Coach Dooley, good morning to you. Ty Miller from the Power News Radio Network. How you doing?
Good morning. I'm doing well.
Coach, it's a conference game. It's a big game to start the season off. What do you know about the Southern, with Coach McKinney being new, that could be different from the team you last faced when you took them on?
Absolutely. I know McKinney coming in, and he have a wealth of experience being in the Houston area as well, and coaching with some fine coaches on the FBS level. But we do know that we had opportunity to get some of the players that they had returning. I thought they had some great guys returning back, and of course they brought in some guys. So we have to I wouldn't say it play it by ear. We just have to do our research and make sure that we cover the things that needs to be covered to have a good football game coming this Saturday.
So you like the fact that you're starting off with a conference game as opposed to a lot of teams are starting off non-conference-wise?
I like the fact that we start off well. And I know taking the game, the job at Prairie View, I knew that was one of the games, and that was one of the marquee games, and happened to be at the beginning of the year. So I knew what I was accepting, and we're up for the challenge. And I think it's exciting to know that you got to come off and you got to be ready the very first week, because it's a conference game. And I think I know this year that the conference is going to be very competitive.
And Coach, I know it's early, but recruiting is always on the minds of coaches, and this be one of those games that could, do a lot in terms of the Battle of Houston so far as recruiting goes.
Absolutely. I think every time you play a SWAC opponent, and especially when you play a in-state rival, it always comes down to recruiting, because that's the lifeline of our business. So, of course, it can give a huge advantage to that individual.
I was just looking at your schedule. Obviously, we've talked about the big rivalry game that you open up the season with, but that following week, another game, that one would argue could, help you equally as much as far as recruiting and exposure. You'll travel to play at the University of Houston. Not looking ahead past Texas Southern, but what is a type of game like that, in your area, not too far from your campus, where your fans will have an ability, to get down to Houston again for another football game? What type of benefit does playing a type of game like that do for your program?
I think it's a huge opportunity for us to go out and play another school that's in the state of Texas, because no question about it, we're going to recruit everyone that plays in Texas. So I guess it gives us an opportunity to have two in-state schools that we're going against, and give us that opportunity to play against us. But more than anything, playing against a school like University of Houston, they have some great athletes. They got a great quarterback that's returned. That's probably one of the best threat quarterbacks in the college football right now. But I don't want to look too far ahead. I know that question was going to be asked. Just trying to take it one game at a time, but I think it's an opportunity for us to get some recruits out of the Houston area.
Julie Charles Bishop, Dr. Fields inside the HBCU Sports Lab. I just wanted to ask you, coming out of training camp, is there a position group or a side of the ball that really kind of turned your head?
I'll be honest with you. I was pleased with a lot of groups coming out of training camp, because those guys went out and competed, and that's what we wanted to do when we went out to recruit. We wanted to bring in competition. We understood we had some guys returning last year that did a great job for us, but we had to bring that guys in that was going to compete every day. And not one group that stood out, but I can tell you this year that running back groups look real good. We got a lot of guys in that room that did a great job. I'm looking forward to see how it's going to unfold for us this year.
Thank you, Coach.
Thank you.
Coach Dooley, we really appreciate you taking some time out your schedule with us, and good luck in your season opener at Texas Southern. We now move down to our last two coaches on the schedule. We will now go to Southern University, where the Jaguars will open the season at McNeese. Do we have Coach Odoms on the line?
Sir, Coach Odoms here.
Coach, thank you so much for joining us. If you could, Coach, please give us an opening comment on your thoughts about your team coming out of training camp, and then if you also could, please preview your matchup at McNeese State.
Yes, sir. Biggest thing coming out of fall camp, I think our football team really understands magnitude, the 2019 season and what we're facing, the challenges that are going to be brought with that. We're healthy coming out of fall camp. I think we established ourselves as who's going to play, going to travel, what positions are. There's some question marks because, again, you're going against yourself. I think when you get a chance to go against a different color jersey, you find a lot more out about your football team. That's what we're eager to find out. We understand that at some positions we're very deep and very talented. At some other positions, we got some veterans coming back, got some young guys behind them. It's just about proving themselves once we get to that first game. And it's a challenging first game. We're going to take on the in-state in McNeese, and it should be an electric environment, great atmosphere for football. But I really think it's going to be a game where we learn a lot out about our football team.
Coach, you touched on this matchup against McNeese being an in-state matchup. Obviously, it gives an opportunity for your fans to come out and support. It's not a bad drive, obviously, getting there from Baton Rouge. So, just touch a little bit more on what type of environment this type of game will pose, and also just what it does for your program from a recruiting standpoint.
I think it's sell out. Really, I think that's what we're expecting. Be real close to it, if not go down. I think it's anticipation of college football kicking off. I think it's the anticipation opening up with an in-state. I think it's a great time for recruiting because both teams do a great job in the state of Louisiana. So you get a chance to show players throughout this state that you can go across conferences and compete and play very well against no matter who's on the field, and I think that goes well for recruiting.
Hey, Coach Odoms, good morning to you. Ty Miller from the Power News Radio Network.
Morning, Ty. How you doing?
Good, Coach. The Black College Football Hall of Fame recently released their Player of the Year watch list for 2019, and there were no Southern players on that list. So could you give me one player on offense and one player on defense that they may have omitted who should be there?
I really think we have a list of players that have an opportunity to present themselves this year. It's all about what you did in 2018. Our stat leaders are pretty much all our leaders on offense are back. The yards may not compare to some other guys, but that's okay. Like I tell our guys, you go get 2019 to prove yourself. It's the same way on defense. We have a lot of guys that we spread the wealth. Our top players, for his interceptions, are gone. Our top tackle is back on defense. And we just got a good team. So no one guy is probably going to stand out. I think our quarterback is very good. He didn't play but the last 6 games of the season. I think our true freshman defensive end we had a year ago, very good. He had 12 sacks in 8 games. I think those 2 guys have a lot to prove, and I think our football team is a good football team. It's not going to be about individuals, but I think our team will play well together, and if they do that, I think at the end of 2019, the list will look a lot different.
What is your biggest cause for optimism as you kick off against McNeese State?
The unknown. New head coach, Coach Gilbert, is coming in, put together a good staff, program with a tradition. So it'll be some challenges. We really don't know. But I think at the end of the day, from color jersey, and I think once our guys settle in, I think we'll find out really what kind of football team we have.
Coach David Berry from the Lake Charles American Press.
How have you been able to prepare for McNeese, knowing that they have new offense, new defense, and you really can't see much of them? How have you been able to prepare for them?
Well, the biggest thing is just, we always say, be about, really go be about, us. Why are you making that? Doing the necessary things that we do well. And we know we're going to do something that we haven't seen or we are going to. Our offense is so unique. It really gets us prepared for about
Not for staff. I can't get a staff on because
it give our guys a chance to be prepared regardless of what offense we're going to be. I really think it's going to be about settling down and adjusting. We'll be ready. I think having an experienced group, adjustment a little bit easier going into this game.
Coach Charles Bishop, Dr. Bills, inside the HBCU Sports Lab. I just wanted to ask you a little bit about the team's focus or attention to detail of this training camp. It came up a little short in the SWAC championship game last year, but talk about it from that standpoint going into training camp this season in terms of sort of the unfinished business, if you will, for the Southern Jaguars.
The biggest thing is just discipline in all aspects and the way you walk in life, just about football. I really think we just look at getting these guys to understand the discipline that it takes to competitive year in and year out, discipline it takes to win championship, but also the discipline it takes to win in life. I think that's what this whole season has been about. Our camp has been about that. It's about when you see our football team, you don't really see a lot of rah-rah. You don't see a lot of falseness about them. It's all about being one team, look the same, dress the same, carry ourselves the same way. I really think it carries over when you start talking about winning in the game of football, but also winning in the game of life.
Coach Odoms, we really appreciate you taking some time to speak with us on the call this week. We look forward to speaking with you next week, and good luck to open the season. We get set to wrap things up here. We will now move down to Texas Southern, where the Tigers will open the season as they host the Prairie A&M Panthers in the annual Labor Day Classic. We will now speak with head coach in his first year, Clarence McKinney. Do we have Coach McKinney on the line?
McKinney's here.
Coach, thank you so much for joining us. Coach, if you could please just give us an opening statement on your thoughts about your team coming out of training camp, and then please preview your season opener against Prairie A&M.
Well, we feel like we had a really good fall camp. Guys worked extremely hard, learning the system and getting to know each other and working together as a team. When I first got here, there was a lot of friction amongst guys in the spring. I had to do a lot of team building this fall camp and getting guys to come as one, play as one, and compete against each other, but all at the same time understanding that they're competing against each other, make each other better. Upcoming, our opening game this year is Prairie in the Labor Day Classic. A game that's extremely important. Not only is our first game, but it's our first conference game. So it's going to be an early test to show us where we are and where we need to go, because, in our opinion, Prairie is one of the top 2 or 3 teams in our league. We have a work cut out for us.
Could you just talk a little bit about, obviously this game is structured a little bit different from, a lot of the other schools in the conference that are opening the season with non-conference opponents. So just touch on the added dynamic that's added to this game to open the season, not just with your rival, but to open the season with a game that's going to count towards the conference standings.
That's probably the most important part of the game, is that it's going to count towards the conference standings. So you can come out of this game on top of the West, start, if you come out with the win. So, or you can come out on the bottom of the West if you're on the other end of that. So it's extremely important game for us, not only with it being the Labor Day Classic,
most important part of it is us having this opening conference game. And not just an open conference game, but against a team who's probably the best offensive team this way.
Coach McKinney, good morning to you. Ty Miller from the Power News Radio Network. How are you?
Morning, fine.
I know it's a new year. You're a new coach there at Texas Southern, but is there anything that you learned from looking at the tape of last season's game between Texas Southern and Prairie?
I hadn't really looked at a whole lot of tape of last year's games between Texas Southern and anyone. We're more focused on previous games against the opponents that may do some similar things that we do offensively. I think what you'll see is that offensively there's a change from Texas Southern has done the last few years to what we're going to be doing this year. So it didn't do us any good to look at last year's video based on the scheme of things.
Anything you do offensively resembles something that somewhat of what the Arizona Wildcats are doing and what they did this past weekend against Hawaii?
There'll be some similarities, not a carbon copy, but we'd like to think that there's some things similar. Nolan Mazzoni is a great offensive mind. I learned quite a bit while working with him, as well as some other guys. So there will be some similarities, but not just a wholesale bring the Arizona offense to Texas Southern.
It takes time to plug players in, of course, to your system, Coach. So are you halfway there, or how far are you along with getting the players you need, or are there currently players who can definitely match what you need on offense and on defense?
I feel like there's some pieces to the puzzle here. We're already here. That fits what we want to do offensively, as well as we feel like we did a good job of identifying those pieces in recruiting and trying to fill those holes within recruiting. From a talent standpoint and matching it up, what we're trying to do offensively, we comfortable and confident in the guys that we have on the roster right now.
Coach McKinney, if you could, looking at your schedule, obviously you'll host Prairie View, but then your next 4 games will be on the road, so you'll be, away from home. Talk a little bit about what that does as you try to find out or learn more about your team, taking them and having to play, away from home into, adverse environments, when you go on the road and face teams at their home stadiums.
It's definitely not a schedule that I would have liked, but these are the cards we're dealt with. We feel like with so many road games consecutively, a team will get a chance to know each other. We're going to spend a lot of time together on the road, a lot of time together in hotels, and then going into a hostile environment. We want to go into those places as one, and then come out as the same. So we're looking forward to getting to know each other really well in the next few games.
Coach McKinney, how you doing? This is Mike Prince with the Open Mic Broadcast Network out of Prairie, Texas.
How you doing, Mike?
I'm doing fine, sir. Thanks for taking the call. My question is, it's almost like the good song returning home, you coming back to the Houston area. What has this been like for you on a personal and a professional level to come back basically to the neighborhood and be the head man in charge of Texas Southern?
Well, on a personal note, it's been a dream come true, and everyone's welcoming me back home. It's good to be back home. I grew up just blocks away from the university, so I know the neighborhood quite well. From a personal standpoint, I get to see my family. My family gets an opportunity to come to all the games now. That part makes me feel good. From a professional standpoint, within recruiting and professional people I've met throughout my years of coaching, they've welcomed me home with open arms as well. A lot of people want to see us be successful. It's just up to me to do my part in helping us achieve that success.
Yes, sir. Now, with you coming in, you still, as they would say, have a lot to prove in your first head coaching job. And what a great time for the transfer portal to take over. And from looking at the activity that you guys have had, how important has it been for the transfer portal to help you expedite your expected goals at Texas Southern?
No, I don't look at it that aspect, because I think there's some kids coming out of high school that really help a program out. Just so happened to be that at this point in recruiting, there were certain guys at certain positions available we felt like we had a need for. You know, and there'll be some younger kids that you'll see that will help us in the future. And the transfer portal, don't get me wrong, is really good for FCS schools. We're going to use it to the best of our ability. When we go out and recruit kids, whether that's a high school kid or a junior college kid or a transfer, we're trying to recruit the best players that can help our program.
Yes, sir. My final question, Coach, with this being your first Labor Day Classic and a lot of cat and mouse that goes on with coaches hiding who they're going to play and who they're going to start. With that being said, without you saying too much, have you defined what your quarterback position will be looking like come this weekend?
Not quite. We think we're going to let it play out this week during practice and make a decision on Friday.
Kenny Terminator Jones. Good morning to you, Coach, first and foremost. Coach, this being your first year, is there a certain time coming out of camp? I realize we haven't gotten the pads on and hit other opponents yet. Is there a time when the coach recognizes when the young players had accepted his system or fit into the system, or does that take the season to kick off before you recognize whether or not the system has actually taken hold?
I think going through fall camp, you get an idea of guys if they grasp what your vision is for the program and taking on horns as far as the system goes. You really don't the true test until you go against an opponent that you don't see every day. Defensively, our defense sees the offense every day, and they know our tendencies. You really don't get a real true test how good you are or can be or what you need to work on until you get against that opponent.
Coach, my last question is, normally the team takes on the personality of the head coach. Can you see that already taking hold, and how good do you feel about everything that's taking place as far as the development so far?
I'd like to think the team will take on my personality, but whatever personality the team takes on, I like to hope that we take on the same personality and come together as one.
Coach McKinney, we really appreciate you taking some time out your busy schedule to speak with us, and good luck this weekend against Prairie. This now concludes our first teleconference for the Southwestern Athletic Conference. Upcoming date for the next teleconference will be September 2nd. The roll order that we went in today will continue into next week. For more information, please visit www.swac.org. Thank you.